Hey everybody, this is Brandon Ford, and welcome to another TV edition of the Blind Rage podcast. We are doing yet another Tales from the Crypt episode. This one from 1993, another episode from season 5, which, as it turns out, has some really good episodes. This one is Creep Course, starring Ina Shamasco, Anthony Michael Hall, and Jeffrey Jones. So, as always, got to get some plugs out of the way. Please check out my books on Amazon.com by going to the Amazon homepage or the Amazon app, typing in Brandon Ford. You'll find my titles in both paperback and Kindle editions. If you prefer audiobooks, you can go to the Audible app or audible.com. Type in Brandon Ford. You'll find a bunch of my titles there. Please follow me on Instagram at writer Brandon Ford. And lastly, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, critiques, criticisms, recommendations, suggestions for episodes of Tales from the Crypt that you'd like me to do, or movies that you'd like me to do. But I know that you guys have been liking these episodes of Tales from the Crypt, and I'm glad to hear that. And I'm sure you have some favorites of your own, so if you would like me to do a specific episode, feel free to email me at blindragepod81@gmail.com, or you can send me a message on Instagram. I don't know if I said my Instagram handle. It's late and I'm tired, so this is an insomniac commentary, but I'm trying to remain coherent. Yeah, writer Brandon Ford on Instagram, or if you would prefer, you can just leave a comment in one of the posts regarding any of the episodes, or any of the specifically one of the Tales from the Crypt episodes. I think that would be best. So yeah, I'm using the DVD as always because I have the whole set. And so if you want to watch along, you can use that source, or you can watch it on YouTube or Vimeo or Amazon Prime. So if you are about ready, we are going to get started in 3. Hold on. Shit, I lost the play button on there. Here it is. We're going to get started in 3, 2, 1, play. So yeah, this is Creep Course, another episode that I watched when it first aired way back in 1993. I do specifically remember watching this episode for some reason. I just remember being crouched on the floor in my parents' living room in front of the TV. And yeah, as I've said before, this was definitely a show that I always looked forward to. It was like Christmas for me every time there was a new Tales from the Crypt. And this, I am pretty sure, I know Anthony Michael Hall has worked pretty consistently, but this, I believe, was the first time, at least that I can remember, seeing him post the John Hughes days. You know, I grew up a huge fan of Weird Science. I didn't get into 16 Candles or The Breakfast Club until later in my teens, when I was about 15. But Weird Science was a favorite of mine because it was on TV a lot, and it was just a really fun movie. And you know, I remember Anthony Michael Hall being the nerd. He wasn't really a nerd in Weird Science. He was more of a nerd in 16. He was a bit of a nerd in 16. No, hold on. He was a nerd in The Breakfast Club. He was a spaz in 16 Candles. And I think in Weird Science, he was just very, very unpopular and bullied. But I remember seeing this, and he was all grown up. It was very jarring to me to see him. He was all filled out, big shoulders. So yeah, that was interesting. Here's Jeffrey Jones. I'm sure that you guys are expecting me to go into his sordid past, and I really don't want to do it because it's not something that I enjoyed talking about. But if you want to know his criminal history, feel free to look it up on Wikipedia because I don't really want to talk about it. I don't know anything about. Uh, what is this class? I don't remember what this class is, but they're learning about Egyptian mummies. And I don't know if Ramseth was a real it was a real story if it were or if it was just created for the episode. I would say they made it up for the episode because of the amount of details Jeffrey Jones's character puts into his lecture in this opening scene. He was fond of doing that weird voice. I don't know. I guess he thought it was funny, but it was just weird and creepy. But yeah, he was talking about Ramseth, the mummy, expecting a female partner, and he said, and every time he would be disappointed, but didn't say that. He didn't say it like that. He said every time he would be disappointed, and yeah, I remember him doing that kind of weird voice in Stay Tuned when he's trying to sell John Ritter the subscription to the cable, and he's talking about all the different programs, and he does hot oil aerobics. There are just certain things that certain actors do, especially comedic actors, that they think are particularly funny, and they become sort of their trademark, but oftentimes they're just not amusing, especially when you keep doing it. There's Nina Shamasco, sister of Casey Shamasco, and Nina, I knew, she looks very different here, but I knew from License to Drive, of course. She played Corey Haim's sister, Natalie. The She plays a brain in that one too. She says I'm not a brain or anything, but she is very smart in this episode. But she's also very smart in License to Drive. But she's also one of those kids at at school and university who have to, you know, supplement their tuition by working in the cafeteria. And Anthony Michael Hall's character is on a football scholarship, and he's one of those kids. I don't know if he necessarily was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, but he for sure has everything handed to him. In particular, his grades. Stella, is that her name? I don't remember that. And here, I think it was kind of cute because, I don't think she's used to being spoken to, and she gets that little piece of attention from someone of the opposite sex, and she kind of just starts rambling, and she can't stop until she's called by somebody on staff at the cafeteria. Um, I mean, I don't. As I've said before, I don't like speaking. I don't like speaking ill about people's physical appearance. I don't like saying, "Oh, he's ugly or she's ugly," or I just think that's in poor taste. And I'm not saying that Anthony Michael Hall is ugly by any stretch of, by any means, but I think that while he does a good job in this episode, I think he was sort of miscast because of the type of character. I really think that you would have to have like a dream, like a real dreamboat heartthrob that would just make her melt. And although, he's a good looking enough guy, I just don't think he fits the bill. And um I just think this is ridiculous. So when he asks her to help her study and they meet at the library, but she brings everything, including like a whole, like maybe two bags of fresh blue Bic pens. And yeah, football. He's on a football scholarship. So yeah, she brings like and it reminds me of the old Dane Cook joke, where he talks about working in an office with the kind of left brain type with a pocket protector who filled with pens, and as Dane says in the joke, in case he needs to write a lot. I mean, you only need to carry around one pen if you need to write throughout the day at various, you know, at various points in your day. If you're doing schoolwork or at your job, why all the pens? I don't know. I think that this episode would have benefited from, because there really aren't a lot of characters in this episode. It's just the main three. But I think that it would have benefited from maybe not even necessarily a lengthy scene or a short scene with dialogue, but a glimpse of his carefree lifestyle. Maybe a shot of him playing football, maybe a shot of him with his buddies, his gang, maybe a shot of him with surrounded by girls, because this is the kind of character he's supposed to be. But when you see him, he's always alone. And maybe Nina Shamasko's character Stella, seeing him in his not in his comfort zone, but in his element, and being a little envious because no matter what she does or how good her grades are, she'll never be on that same level. But he's promising to take her to, what is it, homecoming? She's kind of funny. I mean, she doesn't have physical humor. Um, she doesn't have a lot of physical humor. The humor is in the dialogue and her delivery, and especially the line right there where he took her glasses off because he's trying to manipulate her into thinking that she's pretty, and or she's more than what she thinks she is. and he says something like, "Can you see that?" or whatever, and then she says, "Well, I can't see at all without my glasses." So the objective here is that Anthony Michael Hall, whose character, his name I can't remember off the top of my head, but he wants her to steal the exam from their professor, Jeffrey Jones. And because she is a prize student and she's trusted by the professor, she gets invited to his house, or she asks to come to his house, I guess, to look at his artifacts and such, to, you know, have more of an understanding of the curriculum. But I think she has a pretty decent understanding, and she does exceptionally well in these classes, and she doesn't really need to go this extra mile. And I can't think of anything more strange, especially when I was in school, strange and uncomfortable than going to the house of a teacher. He did that inflection in his voice again. Bullshit. But yeah, he's got a tomb. He's got a fucking tomb in the basement of his house. Randy, I think that's Anthony Michael Hall's name.
What's the matter with you? Can't you do anything right?
I don't know if I'm gonna have time to talk about this later because everything happens. Wait, this isn't funny. Oh, that line. It drives me crazy. Fuck you, Jocko. But I I don't know if I'm gonna have time to talk about this later because these episodes go by so fast. But later, when we see Stella, or when they come back to the tomb, or when the professor comes back to the tomb, she's not only all made up in the I guess the clothing, or I don't want to say costume, but the she's transformed herself into Nephra, princess. I think she was a princess who was Ramseth's love interest. But not only does she, and I would only assume that because the professor has so many artifacts, and including a tomb in his basement, that he would have, her costume, which is all fine and dandy. But she also has like full on makeup to look like Nephra. And first of all, the Stella character is not one to wear makeup. And second of all, I sincerely doubt there was a mirror down there. And third of all, I doubt there was like a whole table full of fucking Revlon or Maybelline or whatever the fuck for her to apply the shit, or even if she would know how to apply any of this. Yeah, so the mummy comes out of the well, is it? I'm confused. Is it? Yeah, the tomb is where the mummy resides, but with that underground space, is that a tomb as well? Finley. That's the name of the professor.
Grave robbing son of a bitch lived in tombs up and down the Nile. Ramseth's been in our family for 3 generations now. Passed on from father to son.
Okay. So now we know how he got the mummy, because his grandfather was a grave robber.
Idiot. Ramseth is a living connection with ancient Egypt. The greatest treasure in all of antiquity, and he's mine. The only problem is that maidens are getting harder and harder to find these days. Sick? You are very sick. You look like a malt liquor man to me, Skolnick, but try this.
Skolnick. Oh God, what a name.
Okay, Doc. I've lived up to my end of the deal. It's time you live up to yours. What's your hurry? Slow down. Relax. Enjoy your drink. End of the midterm first.
You know, yeah. And like I said, Anthony Michael Hall does a fine enough job in this episode, but I do still have trouble buying him, not only as the jock character, but as the character who wants to turn tables and
C plus. Surely you don't expect a better grade than that.
try to take on the more dominant role between he and the professor.
What are you talking about? I believe I have your very large pearl here. And I bet that some of that stuff you have hoarded away downstairs is worth a small fortune. You miserable little rat.
So yeah, he's trying to blackmail. He's trying to blackmail the professor, because he wants some of the artifacts which were stolen. So, I mean, how, even if you can, it's like stealing the Mona Lisa. If you manage to pull it off, what are you going to do with it? You can't sell it.
Bombing, as I recall. Even the dimmest, bovine-brain nitwit usually perks up during the embalming lecture. It's just so gross. What's your point? Do you recall what I said?
This embalming,
For removing the brain through the nose.
for removing the brain through the nose, this embalming
Are you done? Not yet. Do you remember Reggie?
sequence is incredibly reminiscent of the first story. Well, this episode in general is reminiscent of the first segment or story in Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, Lot 249, which also deals with the mummy and also has a scene that is very difficult to watch, and I'm thankful that I can't see the TV. But yeah, except in, I think it's a lot. They're both grisly. Anything going up somebody's nose, any sharpened implement going up someone's nose and pulling out their brain is distasteful. But at least in this, they have the actual tool to use it for. In Tales from the Dark Side, in the Lot 249 episode, the mummy uses a fashioned coat hanger. So I think what he just gave Anthony Michael Hall was some sort of concoction that was mixed in with his drink that I guess it kind of turns his insides into a liquid substance that leaks out of his orifices. And I think that is a more efficient way of embalming the mummy. Or that's at least, I don't know if, again, I don't know if all this is true. So I think he's going back to make sure everything went okay with Stella. And this is darkly humorous because she basically admits that she fucked the mummy in order to save her own life. And I like, as much as I don't like Jeffrey Jones, the person, I do like his reaction when she says, when she admits that they slept together, and he just goes, wow.
I listen in class. I take excellent notes. I listen in class to your stupid, boring lectures.
So she has a bit of a transformation here.
So I figured it out. The legend of Ramseth and Nephra. The mummy wouldn't die. All that shit. I remembered it all. So I played along with the sack of rags and boy. Was he happy to see me? Do you understand what I am saying?
You mean that you and he?
Yes.
Oh, geez.
Just keep your voice down. I think it's upsetting.
Mm-hmm. So,
There was something else you said in class.
here's a very important piece of information.
Jealous Ramseth was.
Ramseth was very jealous.
No, Stella.
Uh-oh.
Look what I found.
Okay, so she found the actual, or she has the actual tool that was used to pull the brains out of the mummy, which is a very horrific scene that is going on right now. But also, I also find it interesting that the tool is in like pristine condition, like it just came off the assembly line. Something that's supposed to be, I don't know, thousands of years old. Oh, but I want to get to this real quick because I know it's gonna go quickly. So yeah, now we're at the university again, and she turned in her project, which was mummified, the mummified remains of Anthony Michael Hall and Jeffrey Jones in tombs, and
Did I get a good grade?
did I get a grade? See, she is like, she's gone now, I guess, and I don't understand where that came from. And then you see the grade on the on the fucking project, and it says something like very very good, very, very realistic or something like that, A+. Now, I mean, like, who wrote that? Because Jeffrey Jones was the teacher. Yeah, so I don't know. I like it, but it's a little goofy.
Professor Finley. You know what they say, kiddies? Nephra say Nephra again.
I think after season 5, the quality of the show started to well, I mean, there are some definite clunkers in this season for sure, but in season 6 it really started to go downhill. All right, well, that was Tales from the Crypt, Creep course. And I, as always, want to say thank you for staying with me to the bitter, bitter end. And yeah, until next time, this is Brandon Ford wishing you all unpleasant dreams.